Fam, you wrote a novel, a article, and it was a fire article.
Fam, it wasn't that long. You're ridiculous. It was not long. It was one of my shorter pieces.
It wasn't the 3-part series Daniel Steele book. It was the 1-part series.
Have you seen some of the Gray Zone articles? They're even longer than that.
I know. Okay. All right. So go ahead.
No offense, Max. Just saying.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Break it down. Let us know what you got over here.
I'm just going to run through this because a lot of the people that are working for T-Mobile right now, actually, I'm really humbled by their thank yous. They're very happy that I wrote this article. They're very happy with it. And that's my whole like purpose in writing the article. Like, I'm not getting paid for this in any way, shape, or form. Like, this is because people came to me and they're like, nobody's talking about this, and I need to talk about this story. Can you please use your platform to talk about it? I mean, that's what journalism is supposed to be about. I didn't go through and go through everybody's social media and say, well, is this person a Republican? Is this person a leftist? Is this person because that's what I'm expecting. Like, I'm getting in trouble by the left for covering things like this, just like we got in trouble for going and covering elections and going to the Capitol on January 6th. It's so stupid. Journalism is supposed to be about what is something that is worth telling what the people should know about corporate abuses or abuses from your government. And in this case, it's both, because the corporations are using the government as a sort of fodder, an excuse to impose these draconian mandates. So basically, T-Mobile employees decided to speak out against this vaccine mandate that's going to fire thousands, I think at this point, of workers by April 2nd. And the company has chosen to mandate what they call a magenta pass. And so you get this pass once you're fully vaccinated. But what's happening is that there has been coercion, overreach, abuse, and an attempt to dismiss the HIPAA rights of these working class employees. And so we know that the Supreme Court ruled, right, that Biden's attempt to allow the federal government to force vaccine mandates on businesses, on private businesses, they ruled it out and said that was not allowed. The problem is that it still allows private businesses to do it on their own. So that's what Jen Psaki they were trying to pivot, like, oh, we're not going to enforce it, but then the private entities were enforcing it for politics and because they thought that that they had to in so many instances because of the political climate. And so a lot of these people reached out to me, told me their concerns, and there are documents. You can see this email where they let people know what they had to do in this document. I'm not going to read the document. You guys can read it for yourself, but it basically says what I just said. And then the next one, it's frequently asked questions that they got from an employee manual. This is straight from T-Mobile. What happens if they don't get their first dose? Well, if they don't get the first dose by February 21st, they have to go on unpaid leave and use their paid time off and then go on unpaid leave. And then what happens if they don't get it by April 2nd, where they're completely going to be fired essentially at that point. And so I wanted to talk about why they're allowed to do this, because we have a really shitty situation in the United States when it comes to employees, right? We have very little union power, and the unions that do exist are corrupt. They function like corporations. They function along with the current state. They sell out their own, a lot of the unions that are popular, like the Teamsters and the SCIU, are owned by the Democratic Party. They're pretty much just like extensions of the Democratic Party establishment. And they're all for mandates because that's the political area that they've chosen to operate in. But at will means that the employees can terminate an employee, an employer can terminate an employee at any time for any reason except an illegal one. And they have zero liability that they're going to go through. And so they can also change the terms of employment. And that can mean like altering their wages, putting people on call, reducing benefits. Most countries don't operate like that, but we do. In every state except, I believe, Montana. And so this is why the company's political leaning plays such a role, because if the company decides that they want to participate in this woke culture, they're going to back that regardless of how their employees feel, which is pretty much what's happening here. One of the first people that came to me, Pasta, was this Mexican-American woman who has worked in retail and restaurants her whole life since she was 17. She has a lot of siblings that depend on her, a mother, she's got a child, and family issues. She's been afraid of retaliation. And this person, of course, I asked her some questions about why she doesn't want to get vaccinated. And she basically, and she spewed out a lot of the things we've been talking about. She said there's been a lot of censorship around surrounding the negative side effects, that she doesn't trust corporations that are bought and paid for and sponsored by corporations like Big Pharma that have a political agenda. The mRNA is still new and evolving. And she also talked about how, of why, that it's wrong to be forced. Well, because the FDA and the CDC that approved Comirnaty won't be releasing that information until about 2025. And so she just needed more information. And she felt like it wasn't fair to force this. Now, I asked her if she felt persecuted, and she said she did, and especially among her team, because she works in the corporate sector of the company, and she felt like her team was looking at her as an outlier, having this whole Trump supporter agenda for not believing in the vaccines. And, what she's saying, Pasta, goes to show just the political climate we're in, that if you're anti-mandate, if you're saying, wait a minute, I have some hesitancy, you're somehow a right-winger. And that's not just happening to us in media, it's happening to people in the real world, in the world of working. And I think, this, what we saw plays right into that, right? And so I asked her who she supported in the presidential primaries and the elections, and she said she supported Bernie Sanders, and she was working the Iowa caucus in the last election and saw corruption of the DNC. And again, I was there, and I this person was there too, and it's crazy. I don't know who I don't know them, but it's crazy to me that the variety of people that I talk to that are completely from all different paths, and then they voted for Howie Hawkins in the general election. And it's, I don't know if you want to say anything on that. It's just like, this is an ex-Bernie supporter here saying, I don't want these mandates, and I think it's wrong, and I need more information. A lot of the things we've been saying.
I don't really have much to say on that. You hit it all in the nose there, fam. I got my microphone on. But yeah, I mean, the thing this whole situation, right? Like in the beginning of this segment and stuff like that, the thing that really just jumped off the page for me was like, the fact is that, they said from the get-go, they're not going to do this themselves. The federal government's not going to push it. But yes, on the forefront and even backdoor rooms, they push these mandates upon these big companies, right? These companies that were thought to be like not big corporations that have less than 150 employees, whatever the case may be, but they were behind closed doors pushing this situation. And it seems like it's because it is politically expedient. Why in the world would T-Mobile continue to go through this whole situation when it comes to mandates, when everybody's dropping their mandates around them? That is the question. But why? Once again,
right. I was going to say, yeah, well, it's political, but it's also a PR move. And we're going to get to that in a minute.
Please do.
Because the second person that I interviewed was a man, and he was of a higher up kind of standard employee. And this person was more of a libertarian point of view. And, he noticed that a lot of the employees that were positive with COVID were vaccinated, including a double vaccinated and triple boosted employee. But the company is still urging these the business-to-business workers to go back into the office for 4 days a week in spite of these employees being sick. So obviously, this isn't about safety. This is about an image that they're portraying. He also said that he knew of an employee with immunity disease that didn't want to get the vaccine because, again, you don't know how it's going to react with autoimmune compromised people or whatever X disease. And the third-party doctor that T-Mobile uses, which is completely strange to me that they're using their own third-party doctor, said no, so the person had to get the vaccine. So this is coercion. This is forcing people to choose between their livelihood, because a lot of these people have been working for years, or if not decades, with this company. They have, 401ks, they have health insurances, they have dependents that they're working for. They are so scared of losing their job, especially in this economy where we're at 7% inflation. And so you're seeing that T-Mobile is taking advantage of that. And, they revealed that one of the employees that spoke out against what T-Mobile was doing was fired just for speaking out against it. And so I asked him, is this a political issue or a personal issue? And then this person said he believes that this is he's apolitical, that he believes in markets and free thinking. So that's the whole libertarian mindset. And it would be catastrophic for them to lose their job. And I asked them what was their political ideology. They said that they were a registered Republican a long time ago, and they align libertarian, free market capitalism, and that they've been stressed out because of this. And so it just, again, this is a completely different political standpoint, a different person, a different tax bracket, but they're still against these mandates, right? Yeah. And the next person I want to point out, because this one really, really hit me, and I was talking to them, and it really, I just felt so helpless, so useless, because this is a cancer patient that's enduring chemo and is in fear of losing their job, like extreme fear. And this person is enduring a rare form of stage 4 cancer that requires them to travel for 4 hours. Now, I know how that is. My mother, when she had breast cancer, she left Florida because Florida has like some of the worst healthcare when it comes to these type of treatments. And, and so it's just this kind of thing where and also insurance here wasn't as good. And this person had to travel 4 hours, and they described that the cancer treatments were very expensive. And if they lost their health insurance, it would destroy them, because it would be a life and death situation here, because the shot, and you can show it as they have to pay $3,000 out of pocket, but the total, that's with insurance, but without insurance, it's $29,846 for one of these shots that they have to get for their treatment. And that just goes to show you, for all this Medicare for all people that are pro-mandate, that think that all these people that are anti-mandate are a bunch of Trump supporters and that they don't deserve empathy. This is one person that is suffering, not just because of lacking health care, but because of these mandates, because now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because they don't want to get this vaccine, because they don't know. Their doctor is saying, we don't know how this is going to react with your cancer. This person has an aggressive cancer, and they're doing trials, but the trials are strict. They can't have too many elements within them. And so they're afraid of the possible side effects that the vaccine could cause on this cancer that could grow back and kill them. And this isn't to say anything about the vaccines, but this is about the cancer, the two elements coming together and all of this happening. And so, they think this is wrong. They said, this is my body, my choice. I believe in vaccines, but I believe it is a person's choice on getting them. And, and they think that this is a political thing for the company to do, and that the company has always preached about diversity, and they go to semi-annual trainings on this, but they're going against everything they do. And obviously, if they lost their job, they would lose their insurance, which would mean, it would be impossible to continue treatments, and they could potentially lose their life. And this has caused so much anxiety and depression, and they're worried about, the whole thing. And they only make about $47,000 a year. So if you compare what they make per annual salary to what they would have to pay for one treatment for this cancer, I mean, it's ridiculous. This is completely entirely unaffordable.
Yeah. I just hear Shaq's voice running through my head as you're reading this, right? The whole situation. It's forced. Well, not really. It's not. That's forced. Well, if you look at it, no, that's forced. Like, if you're not going to do this, you're going to lose your job at T-Mobile, and you're not going to be able to pay, your bills. And like you said, you talk to these people, how much anxiety, builds inside you when you start talking to people who you understand their life is on the line. They lose this job, they lose everything. They can't feed themselves, they can't house themselves. What will they do? You know what I'm saying? And it's just so, I don't want to use the word disgusting, but it's very sad to see the way a lot of people would say, well, they have a choice. Like, no, they don't have a choice. They're being coerced. End of story.
Right. And yeah, imagine this person takes the vaccine and then something happens and then it worsens their disease. I mean, this is the, and you know, who's held accountable for that? Nobody.
We can't sue them. They got qualified immunity, right?
They got qualified immunity. T-Mobile's got qualified immunity, right? And something I pointed out in Niko's stream, this is the next part, is that as I was finishing up this report, they told me that they received this email, because you have to, in order to apply for a medical exemption, you have to go through this whole process. And they received this email that states that they must sign an authorized to release healthcare information form that will allow T-Mobile's own medical doctors from Broadspire to contact their doctor. So in other words, the employee has to waive their HIPAA rights to a third-party company. If they do not, the company will only assess the application based on the information they have been given by the employee, effectively denying them the exemption for lack of documentation. And you can see this in the email below. I'll just show it to you guys. It's hard to read, so I'm just gonna show it up there. But they have to sign this authorization to release healthcare information. And if they do not submit the signed authorization form, or any clarification or additional information needed will be requested through them, and so that won't be deemed enough. And so they needed to do that by today. So today's the last day. You know, I have to go touch base with them because today's the last day they could have presented this authorized form. And it looks like the next part in yellow, the next part in yellow. This is what it looks like. It's a little bit bigger than that, but I wanted to highlight this part because this is what it says. It says, once my health information is disclosed pursuant to this authorization, it will become part of my T-Mobile employment record, maintained separately from my other personal records, and will no longer be subject to protections under federal and state health information privacy laws. So once they have this, they no longer have the HIPAA protections. And so they're not required to provide the above authorization and may refuse to sign the form. However, doing so may result in the denial or delayed processing of my accommodation request. The above named healthcare provider may not refuse treatment based on my refusal to provide the above authorization. And they say, you know, this is the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008 prohibits employers from requesting or requiring genetic information of individuals or family members of the individual, except specifically in this case. So, I mean, they protect their asses at every turn. And again, what Shaq said, right? This is coercion because they're saying you don't have to sign this. But if you don't sign it, then you risk a very big chance of not getting this. And so a lot of people don't want to put their information in a third-party app, which they have to upload their information through a third-party app, their vaccination card, they have to upload it to a third-party app. Or they don't want to seek medical exemption via a third-party doctor. Why can't they deal with their doctor and the company? No, they want to put like a middleman in there that's part of the company's own doctor, which is, I mean, it's completely ludicrous. And of course, while this happens, their HIPAA rights have to be waived. So this is a fucking joke right now. This is literal coercion, right?
This is. The third doctor is just amazed. It amazes me, right? You know what I'm saying? Like now they're choosing the doctor that you have to go to that's going to make a decision whether you have a job or not. It's like,
yeah. I mean, what the
our
hell?
doctor, he's not biased, fam. Henry, get in here. Remember we gave you that little stash? Speak to Dr. Henry and we'll figure out what's what.
And so just to be really like wrapping this up here, is this really about health? No, because multiple employees shared that they believe that the firing of the unvaccinated is more about having a better excuse to fire people because the company already planned on downsizing anyway. So there was a merger between Sprint and T-Mobile, and they had said that they weren't going to fire people for 3 years, but they began firing people. They've begun firing people in the last few weeks. I've been getting this information. And so a lot of people feel that things are getting worse and that they have to be careful with anything they say or risk getting fired easily. They feel like they're walking on eggshells. If you go to this online forum called thelayoff.com, you can see complaints about T-Mobile, like so many of them. One of them said, someone mentioned that working here feels like walking on eggshells. I pretty much agree with that description. If I had known that I would have to be so extremely cautious about everything here, I would have never come to this company. In other companies too, I had to be careful not to say something that was unpopular, but nowhere is it like here. It seems that people here are afraid of what they will say, how they will be, how they will do something, etc. And so people are saying they will retaliate against you if you say something you don't like. What does that sound like? That sounds like fucking Justin Trudeau's Canadian government. If you say something that upsets someone, they're gonna go after you. I mean, it's that culture, that mentality, that wokeism, and I hate that word has been maligned by these idiots and these neoliberals, but that's exactly what this is. I mean, you can't live in peace, right? And another reason why this is not about health, because I got this data from a whistleblower who didn't even share their name with me, but sent me this data that's they have access to from the company's own numbers of who's sick, from what department, and who isn't. And 77% of the workforce is vaccinated, okay, at T-Mobile. So that's a pretty high number. T-Mobile has 72,159 employees, which means that around 17,000 employees are unvaccinated. And these are the ones the company is willing to part ways from. And so, as mentioned previously, the retail positions do not need to be vaccinated, even if they're the ones interacting the most with people and account for 94% of the employee COVID cases. So I didn't mention it on this show, but the retail employees, the ones you see every day, at the stores, they don't have to be vaccinated. And most of the COVID cases are coming from the people that are retail employees in general, because it's a mix of vaccinated and not vaccinated. The vast majority of employees are vaccinated in general. Yeah. So it doesn't even matter. And so, in fact, the data says that last year, 62,430 out of 66,412 cases of COVID exposure were retail related. Why? Well, probably because they interact with the most people, whether they're vaccinated or not. It's just a numbers game here, right? So you take into account these numbers, the mandate is due to 5% or 3,982 non-retail employees who got COVID. So they're focusing on the 5%, 3,982 non-retail employees who got COVID out of the 66,412 COVID exposures. And only about 73% or 48,754 reported no symptoms. So even though the vast majority of people are vaccinated, and on top of that, most people who got COVID reported no symptoms. So this is not about health. They're focusing on a 5% of people who are unvaccinated, and so that leads people to say this isn't about the unvaccinated. This is about using that as an excuse, because it works for better PR than saying, "Oh, we're just going to downsize and fire a bunch of these people."
Absolutely. That's what it is. They're using the cloak of COVID to go away and fire these people that they haven't promised. They promised they wouldn't fire for 3 years. And we understand why the people in the stores aren't being touched, because those are low income employees. And it's hard to fill those positions, right? Yep. So you can't even mess with them because you can't even get that workforce there. But the people in the offices who make a few bucks, who have been with us for a while, who've been loyal, well, we need to downsize and get rid of them. So let's use the cloak of COVID to do so. And that's exactly what's going on here, fam. Great work, by the way. It's awesome. And as far as that wokeism is concerned, right? I'm going to do my Joe Biden impression over here. Woke used to be about being awake. There was like a form of consciousness with woke. But now you wokeism people have been so annoying that we wish you go back to sleep. Thank you.
And fam, that was a terrible Biden impression. I think you could do better. But
shut up, Oz.
I mean,
I did the whole better thing when he talks like this.
Fam, you've done way better Joe Biden impressions.
You've been making fun of all my impressions lately.
I haven't. Steve and Yeti were making fun of your Canadian impressions.
You agreed with them.
Of course I agreed with them. But by the way, the corporate headquarters of T-Mobile is based in Bellevue, Washington. And one of the people that I talked to who is vaccinated but is anti-mandate and was speaking to me about how awful this is, was saying that they make them. And this is something that, this is controversial to many people on the left, but like that they are forced to attend what she called these white privilege classes, which they weren't called that. They were called something more corporate, but they basically were like forced to attend this thing after the George Floyd protest, where she felt it was like very woke and like just kind of like forcing an ideology on them. And even though if you agree with the protest or not, I think it's a little weird to force people to attend something like that. And she was just citing that as like, this is like how they are. Like, if you don't agree with their thought process, they're going to malign you in some way. And it's like, well, I'm a leftist. I agree. I thought what happened with George Floyd is wrong and all that. But do you have to bring up this whole thing into the workplace and force people to like take a side? I think that's overextending what the workplace is supposed to be about. And I think it's that sort of mindset that we're seeing here with the Canada, right? And the trucker and the reaction towards the truck is what we're seeing with Justin Trudeau. A lot of what we're seeing on the left, the culture war left that we were just talking about with the people we know with Keaton and David, it's like they're so focused on that. And it's really pushing people away. And a lot of people are seeing just how it's just a ruse to get people to agree with them on some sort of political stance, to make themselves look better. It's not about health. It's not about anything to do with working people. So, yeah, that's I wanted to.
What song is in my head all the time that I used to be like, I thought it was like a popular song and it was really cool, but I think it's just so awful now. Is that song, "Which Side Are You On? Which side are you on?" Like, I can't get it out of my head because I think they used it for justification to go through with their woke fucking ways and stand behind this fascist, authoritarian fucking new world of fucking agenda that's coming here and it just plaguing all of us. And it's really keeping us split, fam. Great work, by the way. And to all you, those people in the chat that said my Joe Biden was awful, that was horrible. And Andre, I'll remember that. Fam, can we read some super rays? You got anything else to talk about?
No, just check out the article, spread it around. There's more coming. A lot of people still want to speak out. They're going to retaliate against them. They've been retaliating against them. And I mean, if we don't cover these stories, is the mainstream media going to cover them? The mainstream media got some of these people fired because they don't know how to do things properly. So it's just, it's really scary. I mean, I take it very seriously when it comes to protecting sources, right? And I think it's important that these people don't lose their jobs for speaking out and saying what they're saying. And more journalists need to cover stories like this. And this is absolutely a workers issue. This is working people, everyday Americans from all ideologies, all races, all ethnicities, standing against mandates and standing up for what they believe is their right to their own bodies. And I think more people need to understand, especially on the left, that just because you disagree with someone ideologically doesn't mean that they're not a worker, that they're not a person that is in need, and that's unworthy of being heard.
I think a lot of people are going to be like, that's it, we're boycotting T-Mobile, but where the fuck are you going to go? Monopolies, right? They're merging with Sprint. You can only go to friggin' Verizon or AT&T, and they got the same BS over there too as well.
Well, they're not mandating. They're not mandating. So that's the thing. Yeah, I know. They still suck.
But ways that they screw people. We know these corporations are terrible, and AT&T is terrible as well.